Good morning and welcome. As you can hear from the laughter, we are ready to start worship, but we have a very special message and greeting from our MUMC kids.
Welcome to Melissa United Methodist Church!
Woo-wee!
Here is our King, here is our Lamb, here is our God who's come to bring us back to Him. He is the one, He is Jesus. He is our King, He is our Lamb, He is our God who's come to bring us back to Him. He is the one, He is Jesus. From wherever spring arrives to heal the ground, from wherever searching comes the look itself, a trace of what we're looking for. So be quiet now and wait. The ocean is growing. The tide is coming in. Here it is. Here is our King. Here is our love. Here is our God who's come to bring us back to Him. He is the one. He is Jesus. He is our King, He is our love, He is our God who's come to bring us back to Him. He is the one, He is Jesus. Is growing, the tide is coming in. Here it is. Here is our King, here is our love, here is our God who's come to bring us back to Him. He is the one, He is Jesus. He is our King, He is our love, He is our God who's come to bring us back to Him. He is the one, He is Jesus. Here is our King, here is our love, here is our God who's come to bring us back to Him. He is the one, He is Jesus. He is our King, He is our love, He is our God who's come to bring us back to Him. He is the one, He is Jesus. Majesty, find me.
to you from God, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing that comes from heaven.
Who knew you and chose you before the world began.
Who loves you so much that he calls you his own children.
Who has brought you from darkness into light and filled you with his glorious power.
Who has prepared an inheritance for you that will never spoil or fade.
Who encourages you, who encourages and strengthens you in every good deed and word.
Who comforts you in your troubles so that you can comfort others.
This is our God, the ultimate source of all power beings, and the one for whom you live.
Let's worship God together.
Yeah!
Good morning, Melissa United Methodist Church and Kingdom Community. We are delighted to be in worship together as we begin this Thanksgiving week. A few quick announcements as we get started. If you would take a moment now, open up a new page on your browser and go ahead and enter that guest information that you see in the comments below this video or on our website. That helps us know who's watching, where you're watching from, and if there's a way that we can be in prayer for you this week, because we want to be connected and supportive of one another prayerfully as we move throughout these next few days. Also, if you would take a moment and go ahead and like, comment, share, do all of the things that you know you do on social media, especially if you're watching us on Facebook Live. There's a friend of yours that is not connected to a worship service and might be looking for a little bit of hope this week, and this is a great way to express your gratitude for their friendship and to offer them an invitation into worship. 3 quick announcements as we get started. First, next Sunday on November 29th will be our first virtual only worship service. This is going to be a part of our regular worship pattern. We'll start at 8:30 in the morning. It'll be maybe a 20 or 30-minute service. It will be short, abbreviated, but also have a message of hope. And so if you're on your way to baseball fields, if you're on your way to a basketball game, if you're hanging out with your family, if nobody's awake yet, you're just enjoying your cup of coffee, it will be a great way for you to connect in community and worship as you start your Sunday. We'll still have our regular 10:30 service. Next Sunday, we'll have in-person options at the Hub at First United Methodist Church of McKinney. So encourage you to look at your Friday email for that information so you can get signed up. Second announcement is this: we do have our Christmas angels ready to go. I know it seems about a week early, but it's really not. We are partnering with ECI that works in Collin County, Grayson County, Fannin County. I think there's another one that they work in, all over North Collin County and surrounding areas. We have 76 angels that are ready for adoption, and you can adopt those virtually for the next 3 weeks. So not starting today, but starting November 29th for 3 Sundays from 1 to 3 o'clock. A member of our missions team will be at our Cooper Street ministry offices. They're at 1708 Cooper Street in Melissa. We'll be able to help you sign up for angels, but we'll also be able to collect those gifts, and we do need all of them returned by Sunday, December 13th. And so take a look at your Friday email, or I'll make sure there's a graphic coming up after these announcements so that you have that link to the angel tree information. The third announcement is this: we are going to participate in the City of Melissa Chamber Christmas Parade, and that is going to be December 5th, starting at 5 o'clock. We'll meet by Melissa City Hall. We'll go ahead and decorate our float. We're going to have a lot of candles that need to be cracked and shaken. These are actually white when they light up. They're going to have our church logo on them so that we can share the news, good news of Christ this Christmas with those around us. So if Melissa UMC is your home, you want to be a part of the Christmas Parade, we would love to have you. We'll be wearing masks. We'll be outside. So bundle up, come ready for a good time. We'll walk the parade route. We'll finish about 7 o'clock. That concludes all of our announcements. So I'm going to put up on the screen just a little bit of information if you want to get ready to take a quick screenshot of that for Angel Tree and other information. So you've got that there, and I'll pass it over to Pastor Peppa for our children's time.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is a time in worship where If you have kids, this is a great time for them to come and join in the fun. We're going to be reading a story together, so I wanted to make sure that whether you're part of the Melissa United Methodist community or Kingdom community, that you have a moment to go grab your kids and have them watch with you. Good morning, Melissa UMC kids. It's Pastor Peppa here, and I'm so excited because today we are going to read a book together. We're going to read a story called The Grateful Ninja. So some of you might have read this story, and if you have, you know that we're going to talk about some ways that we can practice being grateful. So here we go, Grateful Ninja. If you ever ran into Grateful Ninja, she was probably thanking someone or something. You can see the ninja saying merci and grazie and thank you. But Grateful Ninja was not always like this. Once upon a time, she really could be quite ungrateful and quite unhappy. When she received a gift, she would even forget to say thank you. And if she was asking for something, it wasn't important to her to say please. When she played outside, she never took notice of the marvel of the world around her. Yes, Grateful Ninja was not very grateful or very happy, but that changed one day when she and Calm Ninja made a pact to be more appreciative. Calm Ninja said, "My mom says happiness comes from inside when we are grateful for what we have." And Grateful Ninja said, "Well, that's a great idea. We can do a 5-day gratitude challenge to kickstart our way to thankfulness. Do you want to be my challenge partner?" And Calm Ninja said, "Yes, let's do it. We can do something different and fun every day." It didn't take long for these two to come up with some really great ideas, and soon they put into motion. Step 1, grow our thank yous and pleases. You can see how they're practicing saying thank you and please to one another, and even giving thanks for a meal before they eat. We can give ourselves a gratitude jar, and every day they added a note of what they were grateful for in that jar. If you look down here, there are words like mom and dad and good things. They practice giving gratitude at the table and before dinner time and before bedtime. They said, "We are thankful for our family and this food we are about to eat." I'm sure some of you say prayers and thank yous both at meals and at bedtime. Then they got a gratitude journal. This was step 4. And they would write down, "Today I am grateful for..." And then step 5, they would go on a gratitude nature walk and pay attention to all the beautiful things around them. Can you guess how the Grateful Ninja felt after 5 whole days? If you guessed happy or grateful, you are correct. Grateful Ninja couldn't remember when she felt happier. To her surprise, it didn't take a gift or something new or even a game to get her there. She began to appreciate the simple things, both big and small, just after 5 steps or 5 days. So we have the 5 G's to grow our thank yous and pleases, to gift ourselves a gratitude jar, to give gratitude at the table and before bedtime, to get a gratitude journal and to go on a gratitude nature walk. Remembering the 5 G's could be your secret weapon against unhappiness. And you can see the Grateful Ninja. So friends, I wanted to read this for us today because I think, especially ahead of Thanksgiving, it's important for us to remember all that we have, both things and people and the earth. There's so much for us to be thankful for. So maybe this week, try practicing your 5 G's. And I will make sure that they're posted in an email so your parents know what they are. And I will make sure that they're posted on the Melissa UMC Kids Facebook page. But maybe this week, practice your 5 G's of gratitude and see how you feel. And talk about it. Talk about it with your folks at home. Talk about it with your friends. Talk about how you are practicing gratitude to cultivate more happiness. And know that I am grateful for each of you. You are very loved and you're awesome. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of worship.
As we get ready to collect our offering, I just want to take a moment to say thank you for your generosity. You are generous folks that provide for ministry that extends far beyond that which reaches your family into our community and throughout the world. Generosity isn't just a way of life, it's a thing that we do in response to God's many blessings in our lives. So I want to offer you a few invitations today. First, if you regularly attend Melissa United Methodist Church and you received one of these Together for Joy cards, but you haven't returned it yet, it's not too late. There's still an opportunity to do that either online or by returning your card by mail. We would look forward to getting that from you and making sure that we've got your commitment recorded for next year. If you regularly attend Kingdom Community, I want to encourage you right now to open up a new page on your browser. Go to kingdomcommunity.org, click that donate button. That's a great way for you to support the work of our community through Kingdom Community. You regularly attend Melissa UMC. If you'll pull up melissaumc.com/giving, there'll be all the information there for you to offer your tithes and offerings. We give out of abundance because God has given abundantly to us. And so with generous and grateful hearts, let's give together.
Hey, weary sinner, the river's just ahead. Down the path of forgiveness, salvation's waiting there. You built a mighty fortress, 10,000 burdens high. Love is here to lift you up, here to lift you high. If you're lost and wandering, and stumbling in like a prodigal, the walls are crumbling, you will never break the chain. Never break the chain. Lost and wandering, I'm stumbling in like a prodigal. See the walls are crumbling, you will never break the chain. Never break the chain. All the straight and walk away, unspeakable things you've done. Fix your eyes on the mountain and let the past be dead and done. Come all you saints and sinners, you can outrun God. When you're done, you can overcome the power of the blood. If you're lost and wandering, come stumbling in like a prodigal. See the Let the chains fall, keep us together. Let the chains fall, keep us together. The chains fall, keep us together. Let the chains fall, keep us together. If you're lost and wandering, come stumbling in like a prodigal child. See the walls start crumbling, we will never break the chain. If you're lost and wandering, come stumbling in like a prodigal child. See the walls start crumbling, we will never break the chain.
We confess our sin and the sins of our society in the misuse of God's creation. God our Father, we are sorry for the times when we have used your gifts carelessly and acted ungratefully. Hear our prayer, and in your mercy, forgive us and help us.
We enjoy the fruits of the harvest, but sometimes forget that you have given them to us. Father, in your mercy, forgive us and help us.
We belong to a people who are full and satisfied, but ignore the cry of the hungry. Father, in your mercy, forgive us and help us.
We are thoughtless and do not care enough for the world you have made. Father, in your mercy, forgive us and help us.
We store up goods for ourselves alone as if there were no God and no heaven. Father, in your mercy, forgive us and help us.
Unclutter our lives, Lord. We have too much, consume too much, expect too much.
Grant us perspective to see this world through others' eyes than just our own.
Grant us compassion where there is need to play our part, not turn aside.
Grant us gratitude for what we have, our daily bread, the gift of life.
Unclutter our lives, Lord. Give us space, simplicity, thankful hearts.
Good morning again, y'all. It is good to be with you. Some of you might be wondering, what is Kingdom Community? We've talked about it a little more than we normally do in worship at Melissa UMC. So I wanted to take a moment and just give y'all a little brief update on what Kingdom is. Kingdom Community is a new worshiping community that is seeking to do church or community building or building relationships in new ways, new and exciting and sometimes really out of the box ways. But in all honesty, ways that to me feel true to what the early church might have looked like. So Kingdom Community is directly and transparently welcome and affirming to all people. And with that, we are mindful that not everybody is in the same place spiritually or on their faith journey. So sometimes in the life of Kingdom, I talk about things and I say things like in my tradition or in the Christian tradition, understanding that not everybody comes to the table with the same level of experience or the same level of understanding. A lot of folks in Kingdom, including myself, bring doubts and questions. Sometimes those doubts and questions have answers, but more often than not, we create space for all of us to sit together and wonder together. Kingdom Community is a passion project of mine that has really been a beautiful partnership between the PCUSA, which is the Presbyterian Church, which is where I am ordained, the United Methodist Church, the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, and other entities that are coming together to partner and to put aside boundaries of denomination or church and really try to create something new and exciting that might just be a new way forward for all of us. So Kingdom Community is an offering of space, of welcome, of affirmation. It's a space that welcomes doubts and questions and hopes and fears. And it's a place that if you are looking for community, I hope you will come and check out. If you have questions about Kingdom Community and what we do, feel free to email me at Pepa, P-E-P-A, at Kingdom, K-I-N-D-O-M, kingdomcommunity.org. And just so you know, some of y'all might be wondering, well, Kingdom, what's Kingdom? I always forget to tell people this, so because it's so native to what I think about now, I sometimes forget that people might go, wait a minute, did she say kingdom? And the truth is, no, I didn't. Kingdom is a word that means the full relationship and visibility of all of God's beloveds. It's a word to me that encompasses unity in our belovedness and welcomes us to be intentionally united, even though we might not agree on everything. So I wanted to just take a few moments before we dive into our sermon for the day and just bring you all up to speed on what Kingdom is and what Kingdom is up to. I'm so grateful to the partnership with Melissa United Methodist and for the space that you all have given me as we follow this call together to make Kingdom Community a reality and a place where all of God's beloveds are welcome. So now, let's continue in worship together. Our scripture for the morning comes from the book of Psalms. Some of you have heard me talk about Psalms, and if you're a member at Melissa United Methodist, we've been talking about Psalms for the last few weeks. We know that there are Psalms of lament and Psalms of joy. And Psalm 100, the first 5 verses, it is a psalm of joy. It is a psalm that causes for praise and thanksgiving. So hear these words now from the book of Psalms, chapter 100, verses 1 through 5. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness and come into God's presence with singing. Know that the Lord is God. It is God that made us, and we belong to God. We are God's people and the sheep of God's pasture. Enter God's gates with thanksgiving and God's courts with praise. Give thanks to God and bless God's name. For the Lord is good. God's steadfast love endures forever, and God's faithfulness to all generations. I'm going to invite us to take a deep breath. And wherever you are, if you're home watching worship, if you're still in your pajamas, or if you're out of town visiting family, if you're at a lake, wherever you are, if you're in an apartment, needing a word of hope or a word of joy, I invite you to close your eyes and to hear these words again. Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness and come into God's presence with singing. Know that the Lord is God. It is God that made us, and we are God's. We are God's people and the sheep of God's pasture. Enter God's gates with thanksgiving and God's court with praise. Give thanks to God and bless God's name. For the Lord is good. God's steadfast love endures forever, and God's faithfulness to all generations. As I prepared for today's sermon, I have to be honest and say that the Gratitude Ninja book that I read, I have it right here, the Gratitude Ninja book that I read for our family moment, it has greatly informed what we are going to talk about today. And while at first I thought, okay, well, why am I going to talk about a kid's book? The reality is that sometimes in a year, especially a year like this year, gratitude might feel hard. And gratitude might feel really distant amidst all of the other emotions that we have and all the other emotions that we might be feeling. So for me, Gratitude Ninja and the story that it tells simplifies gratitude in a way that makes it accessible and makes it feel like, oh, okay, I can do that. We are so busy in our current climate. We are so busy with navigating school and work and everybody being at home and concerns about health and safety and navigating whether or not we get to go be with family. There is so much that we are holding. And what I appreciated about this Grateful Ninja book is that it simplified gratitude into 5 steps that we can practice and engage with each day. And really, if we're honest about it, gratitude is something that takes practice. It's something that we need to be reminded about, especially in a year where there is so much noise, so much division, anxiety, fear. Gratitude is something that we need reminding about, and we need a light to shine it so that we can remember that there are things to be thankful for, even on our darkest days. So in this book, there were 5 G's. So I will post those to social media, so you should be able to find them. And honestly, if at this point you're going, okay, well, I'm going to turn this sermon off because she's just going to tell us about a children's book, I'm going to ask that you bear with me for just a few more minutes, because I promise there's good stuff to come. But in this book, there were 5 G's on how to practice gratitude. The ninja practiced by growing our pleases and thank yous, gifting ourselves a gratitude jar, giving thanks for the things around us and the things we have, specifically around meals and around times that we can share time with other people. Get a gratitude journal to record the things you're grateful for, and go for a gratitude walk. So of those 5 things, I wonder how many of you have gotten to get up and go for a walk lately? If you do nothing else, or if you feel led by the Spirit right now to get up and go for a walk outside, I encourage you, do it. Go get outside and be reminded of God's creation all around you. I'm grateful for these 5 G's because if I'm honest, this week and this season of gratitude and thanksgiving has been difficult for me. I have had a hard time accessing gratitude. And so to have a book that so plainly states simple things that we can do was really helpful for me. But I also want you to know that I read some of Anne Lamott's teachings on gratitude this week as well. Anne Lamott is an author and theologian. She is one of my personal faith sheroes. She would hate that I called her that, but that's how I feel about her. She states things so plainly and so simply and makes no apologies for the way that she speaks and the opinions that she holds and the wisdom that she offers. And often when I am struggling for words or struggling to find out what to say in a sermon about gratitude in a year that has felt laden with pain and grief and loss, I turned to her because I knew that she would be honest. And she would offer more than just platitudes of, yes, there is always something to be thankful for, so look for the things, or gratitude turns what you have into enough, right? All of that is true, but right now in my life, and I suspect maybe in the lives of some of you, statements like that feel like something I can just keep scrolling past when I come upon them in Facebook. They don't feel accessible or real to me this year. Even though I know they're true, I struggle to engage with them. So Anne Lamott offered that gratitude is hard, but gratitude can also be transformational. And she offered that gratitude is at the core purpose of who we are as people. She stated that there are 5 things that we as people are meant to do and experience with gratitude and with love and grace. She says that we are called to live it, to give it, to receive it, to awaken to it, and to expand it. When I think about that, partnered with the 5 G's from the Gratitude Ninja, gratitude begins to feel a little fuller. It feels a little richer, and it feels like a path of doing something, a process of doing something that I can manage, that we can manage. If we start to think about gratitude as something that we live, give, receive, awaken to, and then are called to expand, it begins to feel a lot like going, growing, gifting, giving, and getting. It begins to feel like a steady reminder and a rhythm that we can enter into to remind us in our day-to-day lives that no matter how crazy a day may get, how busy a day may feel, or how much grief we are holding, we can take a moment and access gratitude in one of those ways. And what I want to offer here is that gratitude is not something that we are meant to practice and all of a sudden get, right? If we read the book or listen to the book from the Gratitude Ninja, the Gratitude Ninja took a whole week. And if you have ever spent more than 5 minutes with a 5-year-old, asking someone at that age to wait 5 whole days or to practice something for 5 whole days is like asking them to do something for eternity. So in grown-up time, I would offer that the practices of gratitude, be they the 5 G's or the 5 things from Anne Lamott, the practices of gratitude are meant to be done over time with a lot of gentleness and a lot of grace, both with ourselves and those around us. Gratitude is a practice and a process. And when it's done with intention, it really can be life-changing. A few years ago, I will admit that I was at a pivotal time in my personal and professional career. I had just come out, and I knew that because of that, there would be things that would be limited to me in terms of a career path. And for the first time in my life, as a child who had grown up in church and loved church, for the first time in my life, I experienced pain and rejection from the church. I had always counted on the church. The church had been the thing to get me through all of my ups and downs in life. And for the very first time, church was no longer a place where I felt safe. I had heard stories upon stories from people about the ways that church had wounded them or cast them out or left them feeling disenfranchised or disillusioned. And for the first time, I understood those stories in a way that I honestly had never really been able to before. I understood those stories because now my story was part of that collection. It was heartbreaking. And for so long, well, what felt like so long, I wondered if I would ever go back into ministry. I wondered if I would ever feel safe in church again. And I wondered, even still then at that point, do I even believe in God? Do I believe in this God that everybody talks about and loves, if this is the same God who would allow God's people to hurt me and others so deeply? That's really hard for me to say. It's really hard for me to name because I'm a pastor and belief in God is something that's really important to me. So I'm just being transparent and honest here. In the midst of that grief and pain, I was grateful and am grateful that I was surrounded by people wiser than me who had been through crises of faith and professional and personal life. And they reminded me again and again that God is bigger than church. So even if I wasn't sure where I was headed, I knew that God would be with me. And that same person, one of those people in my corner, offered Psalm 23. It's a psalm that talks about Jesus being the good shepherd, leading us through dark places by cool waters, all the while tending to us and comforting us with a promise of goodness and mercy. And while giving me space to lament and to feel the presence of God with me in that space and in that time, this person also prayed for me and prayed that one day my prayers of lament would be turned back to prayers of joy. One day, they prayed, I would be led back to making a joyful noise to the Lord. And honestly, when this person suggested that I start keeping a gratitude list, I scoffed at them. And when they then suggested that I start praying the words from Psalm 100, our reading for today, I had to all but stop myself from laughing out loud. Because the truth is, I was not in a place then to even consider a psalm of joy, much less a psalm of thanksgiving. I was angry at God. I was angry at God's people, and I was not ready to make a joyful noise. I was too heartbroken, and all my heart could sing was a song of lament. I was in a place where lament made so much more sense to my heart and gave space for my feelings. I needed psalms that talked about how hard life was, how hard life could be. Psalms where people were crying out to God in anger and sadness, crying out to God for help. That's what I needed. The Psalms of Lament proved to be an excellent companion and an excellent resource for me. And they guided me through my feelings of grief and pain and loss. And even still, my friend kept praying Psalm 100 on my behalf. I wasn't ready to pray or think about joyful noises or entering God's presence with thanksgiving. Lament is where I was. And honestly, lament still to this day feels like a vital and important part of our faith journey and of our life experience. But as my friend and colleague Carl Travis said this week, lament is a helpful companion when you need to name a pain. But lament itself does not help move us towards healing. Lament is helpful when we need to name a pain, but lament itself does not move us toward healing. Now hear me. Some days lament is all we can muster. And some days, those days go back to back to back, and lament seems to be all that we know. I have another friend who wrote this week about lament and finding gratitude in amidst heartbreak. My friend Elaine wrote that it's hard to begin the day in the midst of tragedy with a sense of complete existential dread, knowing that today will be someday somewhat like the day before, a day in which nothing in your life looks how you wanted it to be. And y'all, if that does not ring true in 2020, I just don't know what does. But just like my friend Elaine, who begrudgingly began to practice gratitude amidst heartbreak, all those years ago, I made a promise to myself and to my friend and began writing a list of gratitude each day. Now, true confession, I began with the easy things like people, places, and things. Most days I wrote, I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for my house. Full stop. When urged to write more, my friend would remind me that surely there was more in the world that I was grateful for. And they challenged me to even maybe look at going to a whole 10 things on a list. And 10 felt like just too big of a number. So I would cheat again and write, I'm grateful for my family, which means I'm grateful for my sister, my mother, my father, my godparents, my grandparents, and I would just list the members of my family in hopes of getting to 10. Then when I graduated from people and places, I then started writing about how I was grateful for a warm cup of coffee on a cold day. I was grateful for clean water, or a hot shower, or a warm bath, or a good book. And while I could not bring myself to pray the fullness of Psalm 100, I did begin to write, God is faithful, and God's love endures forever. And just like that, day by day, step by step, I began to wonder and to practice what living gratitude, even if it looks like just growing my pleases and thank yous, could feel like. Slowly, my lament was pulled out of the dredges and depths of depression, along with counseling and spiritual direction and modern medicine. Gratitude helped pull me out and help me set back on a path where I could maybe see goodness in God, in God's people, in God's world. So this year, in 2020, as we have started Kingdom Community, and I found myself in different circles with different church leaders and different leaders who are thinking creatively about what church and community can look like. None of us anticipated what could have come in February and March. And all of us have spent time in groups and cohorts this year talking about how gratitude has been so foundational as we have all pivoted and tried to continue to meet and build community amidst a pandemic. And one of my coaches, when I was searching for a way to have more energy around building content or searching for a way that would engage with people to help them come and experience all the things that I want people to experience in Kingdom Community, she just simply said to me, Peppa, ask them 2 questions. Ask them, name something that is hard. And when they've done that, ask them to name something that they're grateful for. And in that practice, I found transformation, both in myself and with the people that I engaged with these questions with. So often when you ask somebody, how are you doing? How's life? How are things going? You get a short answer, and an answer that probably doesn't name the truth of how a person feels or what a person is holding at that moment. But when I was offered these 2 questions to ask people, I found that people were honest. And it was like we had given them permission to name how they were feeling and to name things that they were holding. So we began to name our lament, to name the things that are hard and painful, to create space for the ways that this pandemic has challenged and questioned and even thrown out everything that we know and love. And then, when we held space with that, we would collectively move to what we are holding that we are grateful for. And no matter how any of these conversations would start, time and time again, we would come onto a call, onto another Zoom meeting, and we would be feeling so much and carrying so much. And by the end of the call, all of us would usually make statements about how light we felt and how we felt like we had been restored in our hope and our joy. I've tried this and asked these 2 questions, something that's hard and something that we're grateful for. I've tried it with adults, I've tried it with youth, and I've tried it with kids. And I offer this to y'all as a way for us in this time and in this season to really practice living, receiving, giving, expanding, and awakening to not only that which is hard and painful right now, but that which can drive us forward in hope, in joy, in peace, and in love. The things that we are, even amidst all the mess, very grateful for. And it's been so fun to watch the faces of little ones light up when you give them space to talk about something that they're excited about. And it's also been heart-rendering to hear children name the things that they're carrying. Children of all ages at that. So these 2 practices of asking what's hard and asking something that we're grateful for, that practice alone has changed my life this year. And I offer it not as a tried and true, this will fix everything, but just as a way for us to engage in a hopeful practice that will lead us out of lament and toward hope. Friends, this year, this day, this week, none of it looks like we had hoped it would. None of it looks like we are used to it looking. But that doesn't mean that God is not with us. And it doesn't mean that God is not present in and amidst the pain and the sorrow, the lament and the joy and the gratitude. This Thanksgiving will be hard and it'll be different. This Thanksgiving may mean that you are not with family and friends. It may mean that you're with different people or even by yourself. So I offer the invitation for you to, at your table, wherever you may find it, or on a Zoom gathering with family, invite people to name something that has been hard and something that they are grateful for. And maybe, just maybe, you might catch a glimpse of being awakened to gratitude. And just like joy, watching it multiply as it is expanded. Next week, we begin the season of Advent, a season where darkness and light are put in juxtaposition with one another, a season where we carry lament and joy at the same time, and a season where we begin a journey to the manger to meet the Christ child on Christmas Day. And as we begin this journey, I hope that you will choose a practice of gratitude, be it the 5 G's or a simple practice of asking and naming what is hard and what you're grateful for. For maybe, just maybe, in shifting our perspective or giving room for gratitude to rise to the top, we will see not only that God's faithfulness and goodness have been with us all along, but God's faithfulness, goodness, and love will meet us again at the manger in the Christ child. So I invite you maybe to make a joyful noise, even if it's quiet, even if it needs room to grow. Make a joyful noise together as you share what you're holding, as you share what you're grateful for. Make a joyful noise and know that God's love and mercy is steadfast and with you always. You are loved. Amen.
Give thanks to the Lord, our God and King. God's love endures forever. For God is good and is above all things. God's love endures forever. Sing praise, sing praise.
go out from this place today, my friends, I want you to know that I am thankful for each of you. I'm thankful for the communities of Kingdom Community and Melissa United Methodist Church. I'm grateful for the communities that are partnered together to dream a new vision with God. I'm thankful for all of you who are watching from wherever you are, and I'm thankful for the technology that has allowed us to gather together, even though we are not physically in the same space. So today, as a blessing, I want to paraphrase the words of my friend Elaine and offer this. May gratitude change our perspective. May it give us new eyes to see. May it expand our vision for the future to look forward with hope, trusting that there is bound to be more joy discovered tomorrow. God is with you. Have a great week and a wonderful Thanksgiving. You are deeply loved. Go in peace. Amen.
Good, and word.
Who comforts you in your troubles so that you can control others.
This is our God, the ultimate source of all things, and the one